Hello, everyone. On this week's show, Ben dives into the old world. Free gets a brew. I have a look at some truly monstrous creations from Westfalia Miniatures. And Warren returns. All of that, and one lucky commenter gets a chance to pick up Necromunda Hive War from store.ontabletop.com. To be in with a chance to win this fantastic prize, you need to be a subscriber to the channel. Pop a comment below, give us a like, and if you can, share it around on your social media. That really helps us out. Otherwise, sit back and relax and let a week's worth of gaming news wash over you, because your weekend starts now. Hello, everybody. We're back, and we're joined by a random Warren. I suppose is one we've not seen one. We've not seen one in so long. It was getting depressing for everybody in the comments.
It's great to be back, guys.
I will say now, because we've got Warren back, we won't be updating the titles to add free to them anytime soon. I know that will annoy like 4 or 5 people in there. I see the comments being typed.
We can do one a week. We can do one. Yeah, you only get one.
We can have the comments updated, or we can have like Warren back.
Why don't we just do the obvious thing and just Photoshop some hair onto Justin's head?
I suggested purple crayon. You do.
There we go.
Yeah.
So before we get stuck into this week's host of news, we will not be having a weekender next week. And the reason for that is we're sending people out into the wild to explore the UK Games Expo, the first big convention we've seen since 2019. I want to say everything stopped.
Pretty much, yeah.
So we'll have roving reporters on the ground. Remember to bring wet sponges to rub on Justin's head, because you won't be allowed to lick him because of restrictions.
Yes, you can't lick. You can't lick Justin. Like we take this COVID thing really seriously now. So I know that at every convention, everybody wanted to lick his head. Okay, sponges is the way to go. Pelt him. He will love it. He's totally up for it,
And while they're wandering around having the time of their lives, talking to people, myself and Warren will be sitting in the studio and going over what they're doing. Essentially, like some sort of Wizard of Oz, all-seeing eye behind the curtain.
Yeah. So we're going to be focusing on doing the live blogs, as you've come to know, and I hope love.
I know.
From our events. So we'll be doing all of our video content that we normally would do, and then obviously all those videos are going to be up on Tabletop and also on the UK Games Expo's front page as well. So you can follow on with what's going on there. We're going to be updating you throughout the Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So perhaps if you've sort of looked at it and been like, oh, do I go? And then you see some of the stuff that we'll be talking about on Friday and you're really into it, then you can obviously pop along to the NEC in Birmingham and give it a shout. Say hello to us outside and all of that good stuff. Go and hang out with the Vikings. Watch Justin as he tries to wrestle with armor once more in the no doubt 30-degree heat. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Well, I have asked Justin if his knee is up for it. Justin has the Basil Fawlty Korean knee injury that always appears at the perfect moment when he doesn't want to do something. But I've preempted this now, and I can say officially for the record, I've asked Justin if his knee's up for it, and he went, "Oh yes, boss." Knee's totally up for it. So I'm back channeling at the moment to try and get him that he has to sleep over with the Vikings.
I mean, I will be standing there with some wet tissue ready for any darken, Warren. So we do.
I tell you what, though, Gerry, me and you have this whole convention thing cracked this year.
Oh God, yeah.
So we send the 4 of those lot over to do all the hard work, and me and you get to sit in the studio and just point at everything and go, "Ooh, pretty much. Ooh, that's nice." Whoa. Live show's going to be riveting, guys.
Yeah. The only thing we're missing is some way of directing them from afar, where we can go, what's that behind you? That over your left shoulder. More of that.
Go back.
But maybe we can get that up and running for the next one. Yeah, so no weekender, but there will still be plenty of content for people to bask in over next weekend, assuming we're all not sitting in a pool, desperately trying to stave off heat stroke. But it's time for the most important part of the week. And Warren's back. you want to say it, Warren?
It's got to be Indie of the Week! Gotchas!
No longer the ASMR variant.
I appreciate the variants. I do.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes things up a bit. So, Ben, what have I picked for us this week?
So the choice that was picked out by Gerry this week is one that a lot of people will be very familiar with because we like to cover them on the site, especially because they have a lovely affinity towards a particularly favourite game of ours. But we'll get into that later. So this is V&V Miniatures, who do a range of different things. They do 28mm, 48mm, and 54mm miniatures, all of them produced in very high quality resin, and they cover all manner of different time periods. They're not just Dark Age centric, as you might have imagined from looking at the front page.
They are not.
Yes, yeah,
they are not Dark Age centric, but they do favour the Dark Age. For games like Saga, for example.
There we go.
So I'll dive right in because I know how much people love me talking about Saga, and I'm actually going to skip it and go straight to Carthage. Simply because they have a limited amount of stuff for Carthage. So it's not going to take us long to dive in here. But if people are interested in their Punic Wars for things like Saga, Age of Hannibal, for example, or Clash of Spears, then getting some really nice miniatures for your hearth guards. Oh, they don't get much bigger, so I won't bother clicking on those. Getting nice miniatures for your hearth guards is a great way to vary up your force, because there's a lot of really nice miniatures like Vitrix Plastics, whereas these just sort of knock it up a notch, and you can bask in the beauty of Carthaginian warriors. These would be veterans because they're equipped with Roman equipment, which they did after kicking the toys out of the Romans and stealing all their gear. So you can tell the veterans, earlier Carthaginian warriors, dress more like Greeks, as do the lesser Carthaginian warriors, people who aren't good enough to get Roman mail and massive shields. But the sculptors,
may I ask?
Yes.
Okay, because I want to take a trip down historical lane here for a second. Okay.
Yes.
Are the Carthaginians the geezers that ended up getting genocided by the Romans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Romans effectively went in to finish up and decimated these guys to come out.
God, yeah. The phrase "Carthage must be destroyed" was basically the "Make America Great Again" of its day. It was constantly spammed in the Senate over and over by senators until the people got on board with the idea that Carthage had to be destroyed. Even after they'd sued for peace, the Romans were having none of it. And the Carthage at its peak sort of skirted the entire Med. So they went from Spain, North Africa, some of the Italian islands, up around the sort of the Holy Land area. They were everywhere. It was a colony that grew to be bigger than the city-state that founded the colony in the end. And then they ran up against Rome and got ruffle stomped.
Yeah, because Bethany told me about this.
She would. She knows a lot about it.
Yes. So Bethany Hughes was my educator in this, and this was brutal, apparently. This was like a completely brutal. So tell me then, before that, where does Hannibal fit in? Does Hannibal fit into the Carthaginians?
Well, that's his dad. So Hamilcar Barca fought the First Punic War, which was going very, very, very well until the Senate essentially put their hand in their pockets and bought a fleet, because anytime the Romans attempted to transport anybody anywhere, the Carthaginian fleet just did them. But eventually they managed to make a Roman fleet that was equal to and took them out, which lost Carthage the First Punic War. And then they got destroyed by the reparations they had to pay, essentially. So then along comes his son, who decides to pick up where daddy left off, and Hannibal then took the elephants across the Alps. So he went through Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, up through the Alps, and then into Rome and romped about there. So it's a bit, I like the fact they've done a Hamilcar
gone back in time a little bit more. It
doesn't quite fit with the veteran Punic infantry that they have there, But if you're not using him as Hamilcar, then you can use him as his son, or you can use him just as a Carthaginian.
Yeah, I think they said in the thing that you can sort of just use him as a general in your force if you need to, rather than the actual figure. But
there you go. There's your dose of historical accuracy for this weekend, folks.
Yeah.
So,
and then if we have a quick look, 100 Years' War has a little bit, mostly archeries, although there are a couple of knights kicking around as well. So you can try and deal with the flower French chivalry on the fields. And again, stunning sculpts. The one thing you can never slight V&V for is the quality of their sculpts.
Yeah,
the casting is very, very crisp indeed. I have some of their Vikings somewhere, buried in a box. I think people are shocked.
You can see the individual chainmail on his foot, and that's 28 mil. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, even this fella here with the bassinet visor raised on it as well. Just beautiful, beautiful sculpts. And because they do small,
I love that guy.
small amounts. I mean, he's even got, you can see the spur from where he's quite mounted on the back of a seal. Because they do limited sculpts, they all tend to be unique. So these are really good for hearth guards, or for doing sort of single units that you won't often see. A lot of them on the tabletop, so you can have your English archers for your full-on Robin Hood feel, if that's the sort of style you want to
like the way that I kind of approach anything whenever you see stuff from V&V is that you don't use it to make, well, you could obviously, but you don't use it to make up the entire of your force, but you use it to make, for example, your plastic or metal range look a little bit more unique to everyone else's on the table. So you have a set of English archers, but then you put these guys in because they're different from all the other plastic sets that everyone else has. And then someone goes, "Oh, that was cool." Yeah,
it's the sprinkles on the top, isn't it?
A bit more customization.
So, shall we have a look at the Crusades?
Yes, please.
I know you're a fan. Where do you want to start?
I thought you would never ask.
The Crusaders themselves, then, or the armies of Islam?
Go to the Crusaders first. Okay. So
the Crusaders are, I would say they're more Teutonic. I know they have a set painted like Teutonic Knights, but they feel more Northern Crusades than the sort of Southern or Holy Land Crusades, simply because of some of the styling on their helmets. I suppose.
Yeah, it's got that Germanic kind of thing going on there, hasn't it? So
but you also have some fantastic bits and pieces like the Pilgrims.
Pilgrims are so good. Yeah.
And, I'm not saying these would be perfect for something like Saga, but there is a unit of 12 fanatical Pilgrims that you can buy as a mercenary force for your Crusader faction in Saga, if you want to do that. So if you want to have, Peter the Hermit's Pilgrim Crusade, you could do that as well. Or if you just want to populate your tabletop with some angry mobs of peasantry.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, some are obviously more, I suppose, religious based than others. You've got, cross wielders and the like, but at the same time, they are just a very angry bunch of ladies and a child.
A mob of angry ladies. Never, nothing more dangerous on a battlefield.
Nope.
So
give somebody a spear or a knife and then a man to poke it at, and soon find out how vicious they can be.
Well, that's the thing. You need one thing, and that's it. Vision, tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. Away you go. But the Crusaders set, apart from the Pilgrims, you also have things like sergeants at arms. So again, these have more a Northern Crusade feel, especially with the style of helmet, or perhaps later Crusades. So these will work for military orders as well as being just sort of mounted sergeants.
Choose your favourite way of painting their tabards, tabards and shields, and you're away. So,
can you jump into the Islam armies, or do we get a look, Gerry?
I can indeed. So, going with this, then we have a smaller selection. So at the moment, we've just really got
the two infantry packs,
the infantrymen, but it does mean we can bring up some of these a bit bigger and have a look at them. And you can see, again, things like the detail, apart from on his little fur hat, you can see he's got lamellar scale armor on him, which is just beautiful.
Tell me this, whenever you guys look at a mini for the first time, right? the first part of the mini that I always look at, and it's completely subconscious. It just happens. I always look at the face first.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm always drawn into to the face. Now, it must be an evolutionary thing for of humans. You're checking the most expressive part first and foremost. But it's I always seem to zoom into the face first, and that's why whenever a face is super expressive, and whenever the sculptor has really captured an expressive face, a very recognizable face. I love it. Like that may as well be Osama bin Laden right there. Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah,
it does.
It's awesome.
It's one of those things.
It's so cool.
We always say faces and bases are the most important part of a miniature when you're painting it, because you can get away with doing a lackluster job on the painting on the robes and likewise, if you compare miniatures from multiple companies, Footsore, V&V, Foundry, whoever happens to be, Avonpost.
Yeah.
It's the faces that will differentiate it, because you'll see the same armor, you'll see the same equipment on all of those companies.
Yeah, you're right.
And what makes one company stand out from another is the style of sculpting and the level of detail you see on the faces.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Until you paint the eyes, and then that's it.
Never paint the eyes. Never paint the eyes. Just wash the face and leave it be. Highlight the cheeks. Highlight the brow. Boom, boom, boom. Done.
Can't argue with
dotting. Yeah.
Again, the even though it's a small selection, it's a very nice, well detailed selection. And again, could go in as Hearthguard, or you could use them as standard warriors, depending on how you're feeling.
I've seen some people using them sort of like away from the idea of it just being Crusade stuff as well, and they've done them as like sort of Arabian pirates and that kind of thing too. So having them on the back of ships and stuff,
perfect assassins. Heck, I would even consider putting these guys into a game of Infinity. Give them a hack Islam, do some conversion work on them.
Could
stick some guns on them?
Kit bashing. You could kit bash,
yeah. I would actually say with some of the more recent kits they've done, especially for the 28mm range, they've decided to put in occasionally the kit will come with two guys that will have different weapon options. So up until I think it was a couple of months ago, a lot of the time it was basically what you see was what you got effectively. But now they've started to do it you can change this guy's spear to a sword, for example, or this guy doesn't have to have a shield, he can have another weapon and that kind of thing. So they are sort of reaching out to do a lot more bits and pieces for that and things, so it's pretty cool. And this is the range that Lloyd should really be here for, but
don't worry, Lloyd will get to see this. So his favorite.
He will immediately buy all of these and Harold Hudrada.
It's almost like I've opened them deliberately.
Oh yeah, almost.
But there you have the Varangian Guard.
Grief, that's beautiful there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's not a patch on the last Viking. And there he is, being in his younger days before he came up to be murdered in parts of England. He was a young
before being murdered at Stanford. Yes,
he was a young
handsome dude there. Gotta say,
yeah,
loving life.
Can't wait to see what someone does with either freehand or a transfer on that shield.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I'd be a big proponent for just sticking a transfer on it. Just because who's got time for freehanding? I don't have time to prime them, never mind put transfers on them, to be fair. There's always something else to buy instead. But the busies are a beautiful, beautiful set of miniatures, including the likes of the Cataphract cavalry as well. So they've got quite a lot of those. They are just to die for. I love the...
the horses are very high detailed as well.
Yeah.
So that is the first heavy shock cavalry. Well, they're not the first, but the Cataphract was the first.
One of the most famous ones, I should say, as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's a stunning collection that, as Gerry was saying, one of the things they seem to do quite a lot of is they look at what's out there and they'd be like, we're collecting an army of that. Let's make some miniatures that would suit it. So it's very nice to kind of follow the zeitgeist of what's happening in the historical wargaming world, and then you will probably see them redo it in some fashion. So if Fireforge bring out a big plastic set of Byzantines, oh look, V&V have done some lovely Byzantines to go alongside them. So it's very cool.
So Gerry, that's our 28 now.
That's our 28.
Can we kick it up a scale now?
We can. Yep, we can have a wee look at the 40s. So 40 mil, bit bigger, more in keeping with GW sort of sizing. But it does lend itself to doing some more interesting paint job. And also, if you're getting into your skirmish, there can be some interesting bits and pieces. Similar in some respects in that the Vikings, I think, and the Anglo-Saxons were the first range for both of them. But then they've kind of deviated, so you don't always have the same. Chinese is relatively small. It's just a big artillery piece at the moment. But it's nice seeing some unusual pieces, I suppose you'd say. And especially the Imperial Chinese armies are something you don't see a huge amount of in wargaming anyway. So then seeing things like a rocket battery about a millennia before Napoleonic rocket batteries cropped up, it's certainly one way of doing it.
I quite like that. One of the things that's nice about this is that like the scale is increased, but then they've obviously taken into account proportions really nicely. So they're still going with that true look to things.
And can I see the ancient Egypt?
Human, so.
The reason
they've done like a really cool chariot for that one. So
this particular range, Gerry, is the revival of the old world, right? I know everybody will be going digging out their old Warhammer armies.
Are you going to make a Khemri force?
Let's not do that. let's do alternative armies. Look at that. How cool is that?
They're great, aren't they?
I also like the fact that Egypt was a substantial empire, bringing many various peoples in. So it's not just one
ethnic type.
Yeah. You've got the sort of the various sort of
that's awesome
Libyan sort of feel, and then down the way
to
the
Ethiopians.
And so you've got those in there, and you've got different sort of body styles. I mean, this rotund looking stocky figure, somebody who
sits at the back with his bow, because that's probably better than running around in the desert.
The official Egyptian term for him was gorgeous.
That makes sense. I can see that.
I am always reminded when I look at Egyptian stuff that they were so ancient, because whenever you look at like, for example, Total War example, Egypt is there, but it's not the same Egypt that you would remember from like history books and stuff, because that Egypt was so old that the Romans were going to Egypt as tourists to see the ancient pyramids and stuff, which I think is just insane how old they are as a...
My little boy constantly tells me, and it's one of his most fascinating facts, that Cleopatra is closer to us on the timeline than she was to the Great Pyramids.
Amazing, isn't it?
And they're coming at you.
Extraordinary. Have I ever told you guys about the Bodhi tribe?
No.
I want to say yes. But go right ahead.
So the Bodhi tribe, Gerry, if you do a search for Bodhi tribe, the Bodhi tribe are my new brothers from another mother. Okay,
right.
It turns out, that in the Bodhi tribe, the bigger and the fatter you are, the more attractive you are, and you get your big is beautiful, but only in the men apparently. Okay, and these dudes, look at him, right. Do you see that picture there? But the three dudes, right? Okay, up, Gerry, up a little bit. There's three dudes standing one beside each other. That's them, right? So what happens then is these guys go into training.
I can't open up.
Okay,
I can't do it to myself.
No, not a good conscience. But yeah, training.
So they go into training, okay, to become the biggest dude, okay, and what they do is they sit in a tent, okay, for 6 months, drinking a combination of milk. What is coming out of that man's belly? Go back one, Gerry.
I think it's just a head.
Drinking. It was a head. It was like a crazy guato kind of a thing from what's that Schwarzenegger movie?
Total Recall.
Yes. Anyway, so they drink this blood and milk mixture, Okay. Yeah, look down there. What?
I think it's just a Photoshop.
It's just a Photoshop of his head again.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I thought. Okay. So it's not a real thing then. That's okay because he would have won. He would have won. So, but anyway, whoever comes out the biggest dude, okay, basically they all get crowned as heroes or something of the tribe. And then the biggest dude is like the ultimate hero of the tribe.
Cool.
Now the beauty of this is, right? I'm getting my plane tickets ready. These guys don't have a patch on me. I don't need to sit and drink blood with milk to look like that. I just seem to naturally do it by looking at food. So this is I could be a god. I would be
the great white whale of the Bodhi tribe.
The Maori deck of the Bodhi tribe. Imagine here, it was good enough for Queen Elizabeth's husband. So what was his name again? Am I losing my mind? Prince Philip. It was good enough for Prince Philip to go over and be worshipped. Okay, so it's good enough for me. I will head over there and we will have a big collective man hug of me and all the other Bodhi warriors. Yeah, it would be amazing. It would be amazing. I'd feel right at home there. So, and I can introduce them to, upgrades on the whole, the whole blood and milk thing. Potato crisps.
Potato crisps.
Introduce them to potato crisps. Yeah. Guinness. And some of the finest kind of cheap chocolates and stuff that you can eat in bulk. And
And Warren single-handedly destabilized a tribe of people.
With a box of sausage rolls.
I can't be 100% certain, but I think Peter Griffin did that in Family Guy.
Following in the footsteps.
Well, there we go. Bodhi tribe is my new love.
It's really nice. Going back to this, but it's really nice seeing the whole sort of Aztecs and conquistadors thing, because that's becoming much more of a thing nowadays. Like obviously we're seeing Wargames Atlantic doing that. Warlog Games are doing their Mythic America stuff as well. So a lot of people looking to do alternative periods of history and alternative armies.
Let's call a spade a spade. They're running out of periods to cover.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So it's only a matter of time before me and Gerry get the Williamite Wars.
That is good.
Well, I genuinely think there may end up being sort of periods of burnout for a lot of stuff. Like we've always said that historical periods within wargaming go within phases, and I think that's
nice.
In some ways tied to a little bit of burnout, because people are like, okay, we've played too much Dark Age. If such thing could be done. But now let's go and try something else. And I think people are really enjoying the fact that they can go off and paint different and interesting things, like going and doing an Aztec army because you've never looked at painting something like that before and things, or going and exploring, an entirely different and almost, as we would see it, insignificant war, which in actual fact was incredibly significant to, for example, the formation of South Africa or South America, or like how China came to be and all that kind of thing. So, I think a lot of people are broadening their horizons when it comes to historical wargaming. And
those
stuff like the
nights
things we see from
are
here
incredible.
They remind me of the kind of things that you get from the museum when you go to the gift shop and you're like, ooh, a knight. You don't need it, Ben, but it's a knight. I will spend my hard-earned pocket money on this.
A crusader of some description. And the choice is up to you depending on what color you paint that
That's cool.
and cross.
If you're a good person, then you paint it black and white. Don't paint it red and white. Sure. Nobody likes the Templars.
Everybody likes the Templars. I don't know where you get these ideas from.
They were bad people.
They were no worse
that was
any of the others.
Just Rome's propaganda, man. The Templars were very good.
That was the French. That was King Philip needed to restock his coffers, so he started that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were bad people probably applies to pretty much every civilization that has ever existed, but yes.
Gerry, we can knock up one more scale as well.
We can.
Oh my God, just quickly, just look at these Gaelic, because, oh my God, they look amazing.
So if you
how cool is that?
So this is, if you want your Asterix and Obelix fighting Caesar, these are ideal for that.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And again, it's 40 mils, so it's wargaming scale, but it shows that if you just want to do...
Also, they do Romans, so you could have Romans versus the the Gallic tribes with these sets of miniatures and just do it on a small scale, couldn't you? So
what was with the crazy pants on the last guy?
What was with it? They were very big fans of stripes and checks and plaids. There's a lot to be said for the sartorial elegance of the Celts. They weren't as barbarous as Romans let people believe. They were very fine craftsmen and loved a bit of bling.
Took a long time doing the hair before battle as well. They were very up on it.
They were effectively the Bay City Rollers of their time.
They were very much the Bay City Rollers. Very much. Yeah. If we jog on then, so the 54 mil, technically you could use them for some big skirmish games, but these really are just
very diorama based stuff.
Painter's pieces more than anything else.
Okay.
More of the Roses stuff. Amazing.
We'll have a look.
Wow. That's stunning.
Okay. So these are the ones that you see sometimes on Facebook where some guy in the middle of Russia that you've never heard of before has painted it in the most beautiful fashion.
Those are the ones, yeah. Where every
has won a billion painting competitions.
Yes.
Every individual thread is seen, all the stitching is there, and all of the intricate detailing.
Nice.
The billmen for the Wars of the Roses are...
V&V are just showing off now, really.
Yeah, they're doing the equivalent of the metaphysical wheelies up and down your street with these models.
Yeah.
And so I like the fact that they've gone, I want to do Roman, want to do some...
Let's just do a Sumerian.
And then we'll throw Sumerian in.
Nice.
Because why not? Why not go biblical with your...
really cool.
Your 54 mil figures. And again,
well,
unlikely to be picked up for gaming, but perhaps somebody wants to have some extravagant piece of statuage on their tabletop. I mean, the Norman and the War of the Roses stuff there would be ideal if you're playing sort of World War II even, or doing like Invasions of England.
Yeah.
Have it on a big plinth.
Get chipping away at all that high quality resin.
Yeah.
Dudes.
Oh.
We could sit here and spout superlatives of this V&V stuff all day, but there's not much to be said. Having seen that, you're now getting into your pinnacles of the Indie of the Week. If you want to add something beautifully special to your army, V&V or vminiatures.com. Go and check it out. Gerry, is it time for Ben to tell us some news?
It is indeed.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Diving into the news for this week, we're going to start off with something, a little bit of like quick news, like I should say. You may have remembered a couple of months ago now, probably, we talked about Sludge or Sludge Wars from Metal King Studios and Sean Sutter. Well, the rules for that are now actually fully available as part of Blaster Volume 3, which is a collaboration between Sean Sutter and a whole bunch of famous faces. So you've got Ash Barker in there, you've got Joseph McCullough and all those wonderful chaps in there as well, putting together some fantastic content for their games. So the Sludge rules, the full rules are there for you to play out this absolutely awesome looking game. I think they called it sort of like Turnip. What was it?
Turnip 28.
Turnip 28 is the kind of the genre for this. So it's sort of all weird vegetation and mud, roots and blood and all that kind of thing. Sort of set in a kind of black powdery world with sort of flintlock guns and pikes and swords and dirty armor. But if you're interested in that game, then the rules for that are now available as part of Blaster Volume 3. In addition to that, if you want to get some exclusive additional content for a bunch of other games done by these individuals, you'll find expansions for Rangers of Shadow Deep in there, Frostgrave, and Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago, as well as This Is Not a Test, Gaslands, and Gamma Wolves. So all of those games have got additional content as provided as part of Blaster Magazine, as you can see there, which can be bought from Drive-Thru RPG, downloaded, or you can order a proper, lovely soft cover version of the book as well. Nice. Slightly expensive, but if you are into, picking up very nice indie stuff for your hobby collection, then this is a very, very good magazine to go and check out. Been 2 issues before this, which were jam-packed full of stuff. If you want to see how Sludge Wars expands, go and check this out and see what you think.
Do me a favor, Ben.
Yes?
What is Sludge Wars? And what the hell is Turnip 28?
Okay, well, you'll need to go back and watch our Indie of the Week from a few months ago. but
right.
Making sure that I don't just completely rehash what we did in our Indie of the Week section.
Okay, yeah, be brief.
Yeah, it's a new war game that had been done by Sean Sutter that is kind of based around the idea of sort of dark, gritty, grim, dark style war on the tabletop that is very focused on the idea of hobby being the center of the game as well. So it's all about conversions and tweaking and messing with things and using historical kits and mashing them together with fantasy ones. And by the sort of like moniker of Turnip 28, which is another game going to be sort of set within this genre, it's all about sort of, as I say, dirty, hellish battlefields that have been sort of rocked by sort of post-apocalyptic style events.
You take John Blanche's artwork.
Yes.
You
and
take
Napoleonic to 11.
Yeah, you take Napoleonic miniature. You take a root vegetable.
Yeah.
Mash them together.
And you mash them together.
Like a Swede.
So it's like deathcore of Krieg merged with potato.
Yeah,
yes.
So,
exactly.
So you remember those Dead Walker zombies we saw for Cursed City not too long ago with all the roots poking through them and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
That aesthetic tied into that sort of Napoleonic-y.
So where does the turnip and the potato fit into all
That's
of it?
because of in the other game, which is that Turnip 28 game, they really went for that aesthetic much more than in Sludge. So like all of the knights and stuff are actually kind of like part human and part vegetable. So they have like a carrot head that's also mixed into their sort of mutated human body that is then bolted onto their armor and all sorts of different things like that. Yeah, here you go. Here's the artwork that we saw when we looked at it in the Indie of the Week. It's a very, very unique, I guess you'd say, subgenre, kind of like grimdark, that I think is really...
I have totally got this.
Stable, yeah.
So it's Wurzel meets Deathcore of Krieg.
Yes. Yes. Sure. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm totally into this.
Yeah.
I am totally into this.
Yeah.
This looks amazing.
So yeah, if you're into playing the game that comes with that sort of aesthetic in the hobby, then go and check out.
I love the whole idea of dirt and twigs. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Wurzel and Deathcore. In fact, it's probably everything I've ever liked in my life. It's been
You've been missing out. You need to go and watch that Indie of the Week section, man. So.
Yeah, I'm going to go and get the rules, man. I'm going to get the rules.
Yeah.
A lot of catching up to do. But yeah, it's great to see another issue of Blaster because it's a great tome for that particular little art house collective of game designers, and it is a case of when we have stuff, we'll publish one. So you're not going, well, we're going to get one every quarter. It might be every quarter. It could be
when it's ready.
It's when it's ready, when they've got something worth putting into it and they've enough together. So they are little slices of loveliness as and when the creators feel the urge, and not being stuck on a publishing schedule or a time schedule means they're not having to just fill it with trash to get it out the door. They can make sure that everything that goes in there is appropriate and lovingly crafted and worthwhile for their relevant player base. So it's definitely worth picking up. What's up next?
So going from one grimdark world to another, we got a little bit of an update from the folks at Games Workshop as to what's happening with Warhammer, the old world. Probably fed up of people like me saying that we want this to be in 10 mil. They decided that they would set the record straight, as it were, and they've put together an update on what's going to be happening with the Warhammer, the old world project in the next, I'm going to say, probably 2 years, as it sort of runs up to that date. I don't think we're going to be seeing it anytime soon. So, Spark Notes. It's going to be 28 mil miniatures, not 12 or 15. Boo.
Here, let me do this. I've got this. So they've come out and they've said, right, this is going to be super innovative, guys. Like, I mean, completely innovative look at the old world. But it's keeping the same bases, it's keeping the same scale, it's keeping the same minis, and it'll be a combination of rules from 3rd to 8th edition. So yes, you may have seen it all before, but it's going to be super innovative.
Well, yes. So 28 mil, square bases, still going to be a mass battle ranked game, as you will have seen from Warhammer in the past. And as Warren was saying so eloquently, it is going to be a mix together of all sorts of different things from the melting pot of the different editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which did make some people very, very happy, especially when they started talking about things like hobgoblins, centaurs, and all that kind of thing. But the thing that I am really excited about for this, not the fact that I'm just going to be able to use my old dwarves, but it's going to be set 700-ish years before the end times and Karl Franz. So this isn't going to be set in the old world as we knew it from 8th edition, as it were. It's actually going to be set during the time of Magnus the Pious and that great invasion of chaos. And so this is going to start with the War of the Three Emperors and their sort of battle for control of the empire, and then sort of come to a head with, I would hope, Magnus the Pious becoming the first emperor and holding back the Great Chaos Invasion and then settling the empire as we know it now. Now, this obviously means that they can look to expand existing factions within the lore that haven't necessarily been done properly in terms of miniatures. So we kind of had some stuff done for things like Storm of Chaos in the past, for the likes of Kislev, but they're obviously getting a really big sort of redo. Cathay has also been teased, so that's sort of like ancient China done for Warhammer. Obviously, I said they've talked about things like hobgoblins and centaurs and all that kind of thing. So that's really looking towards things like chaos dwarves and a lot more to do with the fight between Kislev and everything beyond that and sort of like the chaos waste to the north. This does also mean that we're going to be looking at things from a very different perspective within the empire. Like a lot of people were pointing out, a lot of the innovations that you've seen within the empire as of sort of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, I guess you'd say sort of like maybe 6 through to 8, maybe even a little bit older than that. You had things like steam tanks and Hellblaster body guns and all that kind of thing. That kind of stuff might not exist. That might be innovations that are going to be put into the play. Well, that was innovations that were put into play later on in line. Whether or not they bring it in a gaming sense, I don't know. So maybe we're going to see the way that they tackle the Empire differently. That could be quite cool.
I'll go one step further.
Go on.
If they're thinking about black powder, I'd like to point out humans don't have magicians during the War of the Three Emperors.
They don't, no.
They don't get them until the elves come over during the Magnus
when Teclis goes, whoa.
invasion of the North as they're attempting to force back chaos. I don't think they're going to go that far back. I think the War of the Three Emperors and stuff will be expanded in the fluff, but you'll still get a very...
Do you think they'll do it sort of like Magnus the Pious plus more?
They've said your old armies will still be fieldable. If they suddenly go, it's this period, they don't exist. You don't have any of those. Who wants to play an Empire army without magic in a fantasy game that contains a lot of magic? You'll get ruffle stomped so quickly. If you want to do that, just play the Italian Wars in Historics if you don't want magic in your game.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't think they'll push that far back. I think that'll just be the background to bracket it so people have an idea of the setting, and then they'll push it on from sort of Magnus's invasion.
The other thing is that if they, and this is where I'm crossing my fingers a little bit more, if they do set it during that time of the Three Emperors, as we kind of seen the different logos on the map and stuff, if that is still our thing, then one of the things that everyone has been waiting for is for them to redo Mordheim. Mordheim was still around during that period of the Three Emperors and was only burned by Magnus after he went on his crusade around the Empire and then headed up north. So if they're looking to bring back a beloved skirmish game, that would be a good opportunity to do it. And, Games Workshop like selling miniatures off nostalgia. I know I've been hit by that. So if that's what they're sort of aiming for in terms of time period, I think we might be seeing something like that coming up as well. For a skirmish.
I've got something to say.
Go on.
Yeah, of course.
Cue appropriate music track. Games Workshop. We've been together a long time. We've been through a lot. A lot of it was great. Some of it not. But we've been through a lot. It's not you. It's me. I'm sorry. But I can't do this anymore.
Oh, man.
I have now discovered turnips and potato men fighting on crazy battlefields. So you can take your 700 years prior to the old world destruction and enjoy it by yourself. Because I'm going to the land of turnips and potato men. And remember, it's not you. It's me. Peace. There, I'm done.
Well, that was a nice breakup. That was good.
Yeah.
Oh, that was. I think that was really civil.
Yeah.
I've really.
And now everyone in our community will remember that. And then when the old world comes around, we'll see whether or not Warren makes an army. But
Oh yeah, see if he stays
Warren
there.
has armies.
That's true.
I have armies galore of the old world that I've been rebasing to fucking ruin bases.
See, this is what I don't understand. Is this the only reason that we're staying with Square? Just to kind of make sure people can keep the old ones? Is that the reason?
No,
it's for the rank and file system.
It's specifically for the games mechanics.
Yeah.
Was it always Square? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes ranking up a lot easier. Obviously, they tried different things with War of the Ring.
It's not just that. It's, defining angles and line of sight and stuff.
It's much easier with squares.
The difficulty I have, right, is maybe it's because I'm Irish. Maybe I just love potatoes and turnips, right? I can't rule that out.
Factor, yeah.
I can't rule that out, okay? I look like a man that loves potatoes and turnips, so I'll accept that. But in about 30 seconds of you describing to me that there was a potato and turnip man war game, and then you and Gerry were just talking about the old world there for like, what, an hour and a half? And it's like...
It's okay, Warren.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
It's years out before we see any of this.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be from Forge World, and it's probably going to be ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
Okay.
But
So
anyway.
you're telling me I'll never be able to afford it, so don't worry about it, Old Warzone.
Very much so.
That'll do. Okay.
So, yeah. And if you really want to play some Warhammer-y stuff, then obviously either use your old existing editions. I still have my old book on the shelf. I can still play Dwarves if I want to. And also, there are billions and billions of 10 and 12 millimeter miniatures out there for you to play War Master-style games on the tabletop as well.
Or
have at it.
You could go and find some nice little resin conversion bits of potatoes and turnips.
And play around with that.
Start sticking them onto your old Warhammer armies, and let's take them into battle in Sludge Wars.
Exactly.
Sea foam, eyelashes, and tufts of grass are your friends for those conversions.
Yeah.
And just go nuts with those.
But now Warren has officially broken up with Games Workshop live on the internet. Gerry's going to tell us a little bit about.
All it took was a potato and turnip man.
Very true.
Difficult.
I'm embracing my rural lifestyle these days, guys. I am Farmer Warren. Farmer Warren. I am actively working on Farm Wars 1.0 right now. Who plows fastest plows hardest.
Please tell me that you have put your gun in, your special gun with the laser pointer that you should be putting in. This should be an equipable weapon. It should
Oh yes. It proper armed up combine harvesters of various generations. I have been learning about the little grey Fergie tractors that then the bigger ones now called Massey Ferguson's been going way back. I'm getting the whole lot done, man. And you want to know what?
Are you going to do a collaboration on Amazon with Jeremy Clarkson?
I may well do, but based on our discussion today, I was thinking maybe I should set it 700 years before the agricultural revolution.
One way of doing it.
Yeah.
That way we don't have to have field wizards,
Hedge wizards are a thing. Yeah. But anyway, Gerry is going to tell us about OverDrive.
I am going to tell you about OverDrive. Because we've looked at this a couple of weeks ago.
With the sort of preview.
The preview, yeah. So it is now officially available to pre-order if people are interested in getting their hands on it. I believe it comes out in September. The reason the pre-order is this early is because if you pre-order, you're going to get funky little resin markers for rush and turn. That won't be in the sort of standard edition.
Yep.
But it's coming to the fore for this sci-fi game of musical chairs, as I believe Rob Berman has described it, as the big giants attempt to slap hell out of each other and score points in a variety of exciting and interesting ways. There is also going to be Tigerax versus the Shadow, the first of the rival packs. And recently Rob has mentioned that there will be 24 rival packs, or 24 rivals in 12 packs spread out over the next year to year and a half. So sort of every couple of months, expect a rival pack that will shake things up a bit and change how you play your games of OverDrive. It will be especially interesting when they start bringing these larger giant models in, because then we'll also be able to see them making the move into Dreadball itself. So it gives more variation to teams, new MVPs, that sort of thing. And also he was saying that this Indige on Tigerax may be making an appearance in Dead Zone as part of the Reb faction.
Cool.
Not with the glove. They'll do a different arm to have a weapon in there, but potentially then we'll be able to see some of these things sort of cross-pollinate. I really like what they're doing with all of their sort of games where they have these blending between the various things to increase the amount of backstory of the world that they've got, so that things from OverDrive feed into Dreadball, and then they also feed into Dead Zone and Warpath, and it just sort of enriches the whole thing. Apart from the core game and the rival pack, there'll also be card decks for your league play. So this gives you sponsorships, new coaching abilities, and things like that to change up how bits and pieces work, and to make sure that your coach is getting the best sponsorship deal for the best giants on the tabletop at the same time, because you've got this whole drafting mechanic. So the way to make your guys stand out is by dropping in, some Cope Prosperity Sphere bit of sponsorship, like a Nuka-Cola type thing, to make sure that you can afford the biggest and the best, or to make sure that your guys have a bit of an edge when they come to playing some of the various types of OverDrive games that are available. So I'm really looking forward to this. I have some of the models already from Dreadball, and so other people have been saying this as well. I've already got some of the giants that are going to be in the box set from Dreadball. That just means if you get the game that you've got doubles, which means when you're playing the draft, you've got options off the back. So you're not having to worry about both people buying the core set. If somebody's already got a few of the giants and one person gets the core set, then you've got more models to play with, and you can play like a clone variant as well. They've also started doing some videos. So Rob and, I want to say it's Martin Thurwell, have been doing a how to play OverDrive, so breaking it down turn by turn and the various phases to show you the sort of different modes of play and the standard game and drafting and how you put your team together for OverDrive. So if you've ever wanted to have some fast-paced giant action as they pummel tar out of each other for points and for the appreciative applause of the crowd, then it's probably worth having a look at. Also, giant shark man in armor, Warren. Just saying.
I did notice that that box has two things very close to my heart. It is a Sharkarosaurus.
Yes.
But OverDrive was also the name of my high school metal band.
No way.
Nice.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to be said for both, but it's definitely definitely the idea of you in a Lordy style dressed like a Sharkarosaurus while jamming on electric guitar at the front of the stage. That's going to stay with me, probably haunt me forever.
I could totally pull that off, man.
Imagine you could.
I quite like the fact that because obviously they've got the different giants that you can play, and you've got the draft format as well, which is pretty cool. But then I also like that the game modes are so different as well. So you've got lots of them very much inspired by kind of a lot of FPS games or that kind of thing as well, like a lot of video games. So if you like things like King of the Hill and all that kind of thing, they've got those sort of built in. And then you've got that OverDrive mechanic, which is almost a little bit like an ultimate. Yeah, you're going to go for another video game thing as well. So hopefully it should be nice and fun and fast paced and stuff. I think they said the games play pretty quickly. So
once you know the rules, they played through I think 5 matches in a league format with a break for lunch. In one Saturday afternoon a couple of weeks ago at Mantic headquarters. So, and that was with them leveling up in between, essentially, getting the experience and doing all the bookkeeping parts. So it's not a overly complicated game that's going to bog you down with a lot of nonsense. It's all about getting a giant space squid to mind beam a Sharkarosaurus before a dwarf in an Iron Ancestor metal suit
smashes you into the ground,
punches a turtle in the face. I mean, why would you not?
No, I mean, We see a lot of this happening recently. So you obviously get a lot of Infinity miniatures going into Aristea and vice versa. And you've got, with Weird Games, you've got the other side stuff coming out from Malifaux.
Sure.
And I really like the shared kind of, you can use them elsewhere. And I think that's brilliant. And I'm happy to see it coming from Mantic as well.
Yeah, it's particularly nice, I think, especially because Warpath has kind of always been sort of like the game that sat alongside Kings of War and was never really fully fleshed out in as much detail as it could have been.
Dreadball and Dead Zone are much more popular, much more fleshed out than the Warpath universe they inhabit, simply because they're easier steps in for people. You don't need 50, 100, 200 figures on the tabletop. You can go, I'm going to pick 3 massive giants, and I'm going to pick them based purely on looks. I don't care what their stats are. I'm going Space Squid, Space Shark, Space Turtle, and just frolicking in the damp.
Yes.
Because why not? You can't stop me.
No.
Yeah. So hopefully this will be one of those things which will have more eyes on Warpath and that universe. Obviously, as we've talked about in the past, they're still tinkering around with the rules and doing lots of playtesting and that kind of thing. So hopefully it'll be something that'll evolve into something a little bit bigger when it comes to them approaching it as a mass battle game as well, I guess, in the future. But yeah, OverDrive looks good fun.
Does indeed. If you've been keeping your eye on upcoming board games as well, you're going to be delighted to know that Brew from Pandasaurus is finally available. So originally it was set to come out in June and it was highly anticipated. So it will provide players with a new world to just immerse themselves in, and you've got to save the forest that is in complete disarray. So the nature that resides in has been completely turned upside down, not like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but it has been. The season, it does. Sorry, but I couldn't resist. The seasons are all over the place. The inhabitants are really unhappy. The world's in tatters, and 2 to 4 players can get involved and help save the wildlife, realign the weather, and bring harmony back to nature. So
all using beer.
Oh, well, no, not beer. Sadly, you do not brew beer. You brew potions, which is just fantastical.
It would be a type of potion.
It would be a very different game if you had to save the forest with pints of beer.
That's the dwarven way.
I was living in hope, Free. I was living in hope. Because in XLBS tomorrow, I'm going to be pitching to our Cult of Games members of, I want to start a microbrewery. Okay.
Yes.
I want to start a microbrewery, and I want to see if there's any of my Cult of Games buddies out there that want to pile in with me and start a microbrewery, because I have an empty, shitty old house. But I'll tell you all about it tomorrow or Sunday even. Yes. I forget we go out on a Friday night. Yes, I'll tell you about it on Sunday.
It's not going to be.
There's no beer in this game. I can't learn anything about microbrewing in this game then.
No, sadly not. It's about brewing potions. So it's not going to be that easy either. So the timid creatures are actually quite scared and nervous about everything that's happening around them. And players have got to encourage them to enable them to kind of help, really. So the start of the game, players have got to be quick to realise the forest is in complete disarray. So both seasons and times are completely coinciding, and it is causing a ridiculous amount of chaos. So players do work together in favour of the forest, using their dice to gather ingredients and concoct potions to heal the spaces of woodland, and team up, of course, with whimsical residents and manipulating the seasons as well. So it looks really up my street. And as I've said about this to you guys before, the art style in this really screams Ni no Kuni to me.
The art is amazing.
The art is beautiful. So it completely fits the theme of the game for me. So you've got the whimsical, colourful, adventurous feel and saving the forest.
It also looks like it's asymmetric as well.
Yes.
The player you're bringing on board has different skills. So you've got a bit of variety as well then.
Yeah.
Whenever you're playing through.
It's described as kind of a light to mid-weight game, and you can see like the components consist of like tokens, cards, dice, and it's a pretty big board as well, which I found with this. I thought the board was huge, so you might be able to maneuver this box quite easily into your next game night as well. But it is going to be a hard board game to get hold of at the minute, because all pre-orders were maxed out on the Pandasaurus website. If you got it in time,
of course they were. Yeah.
Of course they were. If you got it in time, they were giving away a cheeky little expansion that's not been nobody's really said anything about, which isn't available on retail yet. So well done for those who got their hands on it. But if you pick up Brew, please do let me know how it plays, because.
And let me just check. And you're sure no beer?
No beer. No beer. No.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry.
I like that bit. the flip from day to night as well.
Yeah, that's a great feature. It's fantastic. But please do let me know if you do play Brew, because once I get my claws on it, I'm going to be certainly heading out to the woodland to save some happy little creatures and bring their home back to full restoration. So I can't wait to play that. So please do let us know in the comments.
Looks really good. Yeah.
Here you go.
Superb. I'm not quite as whimsical when it comes to the things that I like. What can I say? I'm a crusty old gamer. However, Wargames Atlantic are forever bringing a smile to my face, and they're doing something similar with the start of a new range. So the range in question is Decline and Fall. So they've named several of their ranges, and so things fit within these sort of categories. And we're going to be seeing the first box of late Roman Legionaries. So this is a 24-man hard plastic multi-part kit. Oh, word, that was long. So they've come with the standard sort of get-up. So you've got the chainmail, the Lorica Hamata, rather than the segmented stuff that you would see in sort of Russell Crowe's Gladiator. But this is perfect for late Imperial Roman. So you've got essentially your Decline and Fall. So the collapse of the Western Empire before everything moves east and becomes Byzantine. So these are great for playing in Britain against the Welsh, the Irish, the Picts, or playing across Europe and even doing your Sassanid and Persian battles with the Eastern Empire. And it's also the first box that we're going to see from the Romans. So they're going to do Romans like this. They're also going to do a Goth box, which we've seen some previews for with archers, which will have about 30 men, multi-part as well. But they're also doing these new army builder boxes where it will contain 60 models, but those 60 models will be either unipose, or maybe their head will be separate, or maybe an arm, that type of thing. So very easy to build mass.
Like they did for their Napoleonic.
Yeah, so the
range.
Prussian. It says Prussian, might be an Austrian. Anyway, that was the first of these test builder boxes where you got 6 miniatures, 10 sprues, so same 6 repeated, but very, very quick to build up and very effective looking. So you'll be able to use these to add a bit of variation or to add in your commands, that sort of thing, and then use those builder boxes to sort of fire them out to play your big games if you want to play things like Hail Caesar or sort of large scale DBM, DBX, Art de la Guerre sort of style games. But we see Matthew Leahy has been given free rein to paint up the test pieces again, and he's achieved.
I have a suggestion. It's a suggestion and a question.
Yes.
All wrapped up into one little cute package.
You do. You go.
Lindisfarne took place in 793. So the Romans evacuated from Britain. Then you had the Charlemagne period. And then after the Charlemagne period, you had the Vikings attacking Britain kind of era. Yeah?
Yes.
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 Right. Now, I've watched the Vikings documentary TV series with Ragnar Lothbrok in it.
So very accurate, yeah.
So I know a thing or two about Vikings. But here's my question. 793, the Vikings, by all accounts, their first recorded raid on the British Isles, where they sacked Lindisfarne. Okay? But by that stage, the Vikings already had... Did they already have sagas and things like that? Were they already a fairly ancient culture by that point? So what were the Vikings doing in the early mid 400s? Were they just fighting one another?
Pretty much. Yeah.
They would have effectively been like proto-Vikings in many ways, sort of like Vikings, but not as you know them, kind of thing. So that would have been sort of like the time period of. Would that have been like Beowulf-y type?
Yeah.
Geats and that kind of thing? Yeah.
So what if some of the Roman boats got lost, all right, and landed in Svigeswald or whatever the hell you would call it, and they landed there, and it was Romans versus Vikings?
There's no reason why it can't.
Perfect.
Obviously, both Roman and Scandinavian were trading all the time. So there was contact. There grave goods and the like have been found that have come from the Mediterranean. So they knew about each other and they were trading the whole kit and caboodle.
So then they may well have had a scrap or two.
There's no reason why they couldn't have. Getting your hands on some proto-Vikings is probably going to be slightly trickier. I suppose Saxons would do the job.
It would have been a lot more Saxons, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like what is a proto-Viking then? You know, like what did a Viking?
I just made up a phrase that will now.
What did a Viking evolve that a Viking previously didn't have? You know, I would imagine a Viking was pretty well equipped even back then. You know, it's like what was he missing? Was it the Dane axe? Did he not have a Dane axe at that point? They're kind of honestly, they cut down trees.
Yeah, they would have had axes. Yeah. Whether they would have used double-handed axes and fought in a similar way is another matter. You just get development. I mean, Saxons into Anglo-Saxons is a couple of centuries, and broadly speaking, they didn't vary hugely from when the Saxons arrived. Things like the Viking shields were much larger than some of the standard round shields that you got from other peoples in around Northern Europe. So they developed these larger shields and I don't know, because they had the boar's head and Saxons, so shield walls and the like of a type existed. So yeah, it's really going to be small things, things that people who are in depth into their history will go, well, they wouldn't have had those type of swords, or maybe their armor wouldn't have been quite as spread. In the same way the Irish had very little in the way of chainmail, you may see chainmail restricted much more.
You see, like the thing about historical gaming is, look, not all of history is written is known. Okay, there was stuff that happened that we don't know about and we'll never know about. However, that doesn't mean that historical gaming necessarily has to be completely pigeonholed into everything that we cast iron know about. Okay, but at the same time, you know, I'm always looking for, on the edge of plausibility, how you would get bust-ups happening that you wouldn't normally see. I've never seen a battle of Vikings versus Romans, but I would love to see a battle of Vikings versus Romans. I think the discipline of one side versus the ferocity of the other side could make for an amazing battle. But I'm trying to do it and still keep it kind of plausible. So I'm asking my fellow historically accurate historians here, right? Give me a little bit of slack here, guys, okay? Because what I'm trying to do is to explore the what ifs and the possibilities, but, you know, giving a little bit more latitude of people getting lost and ending up in Scandinavia when they didn't expect that they were going to be there. So, yeah.
Certainly one way of doing it. What I will say is we kind of know how those battles would go, because Rome just plowed through everybody who fought with ferocity in the majority of cases, unless they got caught somewhere terrible. Like
they're going to win, aren't they? Yeah, the Romans are going to win.
Oh, he's swinging his axe around. Everyone form up.
Make
sure he gets tired and stab him.
Stab his friends. There is a little, while we're on the subject of Wargames Atlantic, there's a little feature they added to their website 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Because they are constantly previewing stuff, and stuff is being previewed and then other stuff's going into tooling, but then it's having to hold on while other tools are made to make best use of the blah, 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 blah. So sometimes you see things and you go, when are they coming out? Yes. They have added to their website a release schedule.
Ooh.
They literally go, if something is out of stock, it's when it's in stock, what boat it's on, and when it's due to land in ports. Nice. And if it's currently a new release, then they'll drop in here when it's being transported. So as you can see, Panzerjäger and the late Romans have already landed in Australia because it's closest to their manufacturing. So you can already buy those there, whereas we have to wait until 8th of August, assuming fair winds and nobody blocking the Suez again. So that's a nice little feature that I'm glad to see, because constantly people are going, but when? When are we getting the Aztecs? But when?
Something goes right for the war game community in Australia, finally.
Right.
Yeah. God bless them. It had to happen sooner or later. So what's up next? Then?
Right. What's next?
Yeah, speaking of unmatched rivals, have you ever wondered who would win in a fight between Bruce Lee and a punch of raptors from Jurassic Park? Or even Alice in Wonderland, can she actually take on Spike from Buffy? Or the oh-so-powerful demigod Achilles taking on Bloody Mary from Horror? Well, to be fair, you can start edging your bets that Achilles is going to smash for everybody, because Achilles, Yenaga, Sun Wukong, Bloody Mary are making their way into Unmatched from Restoration Games, and characters diversify the game pool even further in Volume 2. So if you've never come across Unmatched before, it's an asymmetrical miniature fighting game. Each hero's got their own unique deck, and it's designed in their own style with their own legend. So you've got tactical movement, no luck combat, resolution, creating a unique experience. So it's very, no matter, you can get used to one particular character, bring another character in, the game is completely different. So I might not be as clued up in characters' history as you guys, but Unmatched has been tempting me more and more with the cast of Buffy staking their way up against Robin Hood and King Arthur.
Nice.
But I was waiting for a release that was truly going to tickle my fancy. But I never did guess that a character immersed in rich history culture would have been pulling my arm to get me into the game. So Achilles was announced, and I was like, dude. And then Patroclus was announced as his sidekick, and I was like, bruh. So I couldn't. I was blown away. So I've got to love that brutal team up anyway, especially if I get the chance to do it on a tabletop. So I buried my head in both the Iliad and the Odyssey, and there was never going back. So let alone putting them both onto the tabletop and pitting them against Alice in Wonderland or Jekyll and Hyde. So the combinations are completely mind-blowing. But there were announced that Deadpool's coming the way as well this year, and there's no sign of him and the other flurry of Marvel characters that are supposed to be joining. So this game is just going to get bigger and bigger. Sit tight, they're going to be with us soon, and we're going to be able to create some really cool fights. So Volume 2 doesn't just see new characters as well. It's got a brand new battlefield, new mechanism coming as well. I can't tell you when they're coming, but I'm just over here getting excited about Achilles and Bloody Mary at the moment. So, but there's 3 warriors and 1 horror legend that he's joining. So if it's
Little Red
anybody's
Riding
guess,
Hood versus Beowulf.
yes, it's a good combo, isn't it? But whoever's going to come out triumphant, it is completely unknown. So you can. I want to know for you guys, if you could have 1 fictional character against 1 historical character, who would you win? Who would you pick? Go on. Who would you pick?
Ragnar Lothbrok.
Yeah.
Versus Maximus Decimus Medicinal.
Medicinal.
Yes, medicinal.
I want to see. I want to see Connor McLeod. I want to see Highlander in there.
Yeah.
I think he would be freaking awesome.
Yeah. That'd
really
be awesome.
Against who though?
Oh, I don't know.
You need an out there fiction.
Bob Geldof.
That would be good. That'd be good. I'd love to see Spike during, Boxer Rebellion, killing Slayers all around him. Spike, not Mopey Emu Spike.
Oh, yeah.
Spike against Gandhi.
Oh. Gerry, that's a good.
Are we talking about Spike the dog from Tom and Jerry? No.
Spike from Buffy.
Spike the vampire.
Buffy Spike. I think I just want to put Chuck Norris against there and just watch him win everything.
Nobody would win anything then.
No, exactly.
No,
it's just like Chuck Norris is on the table. Don't mind me.
The actual sets they've done for these are really well, because it's all done through Restoration Games, which they bought this, because this game was based on an old format, I believe it was. I can't remember what I have inklings that it may have been like an old Star Wars game, but they came back and they bought this and they sort of reinvented it, as they do a lot of their different projects.
Yeah.
And this game has exploded. Everybody is so into Unmatched because it's so quick and easy to dive into. As you were saying, it's got that asymmetrical nature to it. Because you can buy all these different expansions as well. You can just dive in and play it with just 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2, etc., and all that kind of thing, which is really, really cool. I love that they were just people like raptors. Let's do a box that includes 2 raptors versus a park ranger from Jurassic Park. Cool, go for it.
Let's do it.
Let's do Beowulf fighting who? Red Riding Hood. Let's give that a go. Which I just think is amazing.
Robin Hood versus Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Oh,
Sam,
I want Sam Neill.
I think what's an amazing, what I discovered is there is a huge tournament game out there for Unmatched as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. So there's quite a demand about this, and I bet as soon as the Marvel characters get embedded, it's only going to blow up even more. it's only going to get bigger. So really, really cool stuff.
Cobble and
from
Fog's that? Well, that's
Cobble and Fog.
what you call
There's,
them? There's the
Sherlock
Invisible
Holmes
Man
and
and
stuff.
Sherlock
Victorian,
Holmes.
yeah.
The Victoriana.
Yeah.
They really are going all in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
They've got some
Wow.
King Arthur's in there as well, which is awesome. Merlin's in there as well.
I've seen a
there's
game
really
so
cool characters.
much that has so much in it that it gives you Owen Wilson. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a it's a smorgasbord of copyright-free publications from the past brought back to the tabletop, which is really cool. So,
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's very
All
awesome.
good to see.
Exactly.
Right.
So, yeah, we
Rounding
finished
us
things
off.
off. With Perry Miniatures.
Dun, dun,
Some lovely,
dun.
nice stuff. So, Perry Miniatures have released a couple more of their plastic sets. So, they have recently released 2 boxes of Prussian troops. There are 32 miniatures within each of these sets. They have been designed to give you Prussian infantry advancing and Prussian infantry skirmishing. But the 2 different kits can be combined and bashed together if you prefer to get lots of different combinations.
Nice.
As I say, 32 miniatures within each of these sets. So, you've got the bones of some fairly big units for you to play around with, and each of them come with the different command sprues in there as well. They've all been designed for the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 71, and of course, as you might imagine, the folks at Perry Miniatures have the twins have done some amazing research on these and put together some wonderful plastic kits. They continue to be some of the best on the market if you're going to be diving into doing a little bit of historical wargaming, especially if you're doing things around kind of like the medieval period or sort of like this sort of Napoleonic plus era as well. Some stunning miniatures once again from them. Just as an addition, if you're looking to pre-order them right now, because they are all available over on their web store, if you buy a bundle of them together, you can also get General Karl Friedrich von Steinmetz. I'm probably butchered that last bit, but there we go. So if you want to get that, you get a lovely metal miniature as well on top of all of that. And of course, who wouldn't want to pick up a Perry metal miniature? Because they are awesome. So yeah, if you're looking to play the Franco-Prussian War, go and snap this up and give it a go. I will also point out, as someone has also said in the comments, this is also very good if you want to try and put together a slightly quirky Imperial Guard force, or Astra Militarum now, sorry, in Warhammer 40,000. Take those bits, swap the rifles for las guns, and away you go. You've built yourself a new Imperial army, much as we did with our sort of like Prussian force.
Well, let me give you just a wee tiny bit of perspective here. Okay, so you could spend in the region of 25 quid for 5 guardsmen, or you could spend 20 quid and get 39
exactly
Prussians.
Right.
Yeah.
The choice is yours.
That seems like quite a difference to me.
And you know what these would be good for? Turnip 28.
They would. They would be very good for Turnip 28. So.
Boom! Wow.
We get sponsored by Owen Wilson's Wow, I think.
Do you know what? Turnips, potatoes, free, pumpkins and mushrooms.
Oh my God, you can have literally fungi people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun guys.
You can have fun guys, yeah.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I know a source for small mushrooms and small turnips. I will double check, but I believe on the OTT store that in the Green Stuff World thing, we have little resin conversion bits of mushrooms, because I believe I used them in the Hero Quest build that I did.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly certain that there's little pumpkins and stuff like that as well. So
very good.
It's like the pumpkin people we saw on Spellcrow the other week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was after there. There we go. Before we drop off completely from the Perrys, if you're on their website and you were talking about the fact that they do a lot of research, they have color plates for the Prussian infantry regiments. So if you are choosing to paint these up, you can actually go in here and get essentially the painting guide that you need for specific regiments. So you get the facings, the colors, and all the rest. So if you are playing it in the historical sense and you want to make sure that you have the right regiments in the right outfits for the right battles, then you can do that for a very influential European war. more or less shaped Germany.
And then add the
And
turnips and
Yes.
potatoes.
Then add turnips and potatoes
Yes.
on top. And you've got to the root of the matter.
Can't beat that one, Gerry, can you?
I think let's just take a break right there while I bask in my glory. And we'll be right back with some Kickstarters.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
So before we get stuck into the Kickstarters, I've actually had a chance to play the first one because they sent over a big box of Acid House terrain, and myself cack-handedly assembled it to see whether or not even simians like ourselves could manage it. So you can take a look and see what we managed to put together. We've lost a Warren, but I've gained a Justin. And we're going to be having a look at not a mat per se, although there are tiles in here, but it's the Acid House pop-up terrain set.
Oh, I saw this on Kickstarter. Okay, I've been looking forward to seeing this.
So this is the supersize set, and it contains enough to make apparently a full 6x4 worth, and it folds back down into a box about the same size as one of those modern console things. But I was fascinated to see exactly what goes into this, and it does weigh a ton. I'm going to need you to give me a hand here. So if we pop that out.
Which side does it?
Foldo openo.
Yep. Okay, wow. There is a lot in this chunky box.
Yeah. So we're going to try and put this together. I don't believe there are instructions because it should be idiot-proof. They are, after all, fold boxes.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can manage to fold some boxes then.
Ta-da!
That didn't take long.
No. I love how modular this set is.
Yeah.
You know, everything fits pretty much within everything.
Yeah, it's excellent if you want to start doing clever things like building sniper towers, or if you're playing something like Infinity where height has its advantages. It's also the density of the terrain. So that is, for all intents and purposes, one small box fits a 6x4 board plus all of the terrain to make a city on it.
And it's a pretty tightly packed table, but you've got some areas where you've got decent fire lines, other areas where they're really chopped up, which I like.
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to drop a
something
model
like
on it.
Stargrave.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Very cool.
This
All right,
would
do you want minis?
excellent for Stargrave, especially there's ones where you need a load of little pillars, like 25 little pillars. So being able to get those and just fold them away is genius. Yeah.
Miniature?
What have we got? Something heavy.
How about a Jotun?
Sure. He's heavy. Drop him on something. Oh,
Well, I'll set him down.
you're no fun anymore. The big question is, will he cross a bridge? Ooh.
Ooh, the base is just a little bit wide.
Oh, that's all right.
But
It's cardboard.
holding.
I'll bend it.
It's holding.
If it falls and breaks, though, we don't tell Corver's belly, right?
Well, I think Angel did paint these.
Yeah, we definitely
So-
we don't
Sorry.
tell him. But yeah, no, so they're certainly robust enough to take a variety of miniatures. I think it's a terrific set from Acid House.
Now the question is, how long does it take to pack down?
Well,
Probably about the same again.
yeah, I imagine so. So there we have it. Only half an hour. Although it looked much faster, we don't move that quickly in real life. I certainly move that quickly in real life. But half an hour to put a full 6x4 table together is amazing.
Yeah,
And
very cool.
although we didn't show it in that, I collapsed it and put it back in the box it came out of. And again, that took about half an hour, and that by myself, because Justin had slid off by that stage. So yeah,
lightweight part-timer.
Yeah, it's terrible, really. They have gone back to Kickstarter for a reprint and a bit more. So that was one of the initial sets from last year's success. And now, if you missed out on it, you can now jump in on the reprint edition. So the whole point of this is to get more games in by having to spend less time monkeying around with getting your terrain on the go. And it really is incredibly simple. As people seen in the video there, to get your stuff together and also to pack it away. Now, it does fit in the box for easy transportation. However, if you get the super gigantic set with all the boards for the 6x we have, it also weighs.
There's weight to it.
But
Jerry, there'd be weight to anything.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Is just how
cool, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah. I cut was because you just
waterproof.
knocked the ball off. It's been plasticized rather than varnished, so
okay, right.
It's not super shiny, because I know sometimes if you've got a very gloss thing, it's a pain in the backside, but you can quickly wipe up spillages without worry about your boards doing the incredible expanding board, which nobody wants to. Also, I quite like the fact, and we didn't really show it, is the board is double-sided. You've got this hard sci-fi on one side, and then a sort of a more grimy sci-fi on the other. So yes, the building being the same, but you're not always having to play on the same mat, essentially. So that's
it's nice that it's so modular as well, actually.
Oh, it's incredibly modular.
Be very good for Infinity.
Excellent for Infinity.
Beautiful for Infinity.
Also for Stargrave, there's the two sides of the boards there. So we did the dull side. I'm not entirely certain why we chose the dull side. I think it was just the first one that landed on the table. I was like, well, that's the way up it's going to go now. That's how we play this. But you can get it in a variety of sizes / flavors. So you can get for sort of 4x4 boards, or up to the big 6x4, and you can get just the sort of the building packs as well. So depending on what you're looking for, if you've already got a mat that maybe you don't need the transporting ability of a sort of a boarded version, then you can just get your hands on the bit that fits you best, essentially. And they've also been pushing on from there to try a few other bits and bobs. So some of the stretch goals in here are for new skins. This is already designed, ready to go once it's been printed. But they have just launched the survey for backers. In fact, the survey, I think, is closed for back to suggest different styles, and people have been throwing in things like, sci-fi or an 80s tech noir feel board for your cyberpunks, a grim dark. You've already got this hard sci-fi one, so people have been really sort of mixing it up and throwing in their suggestions to try and do up things, including sort of Victoriana. So you're not necessarily playing sci-fi, but different whole other genres in there as well. So the stretch goals for those are a bit off, but hopefully they'll get up there. It's definitely worth a look, just for the sheer depth. I mean, if you're looking to do that even with 3D printing, you're printing forever and a day, and then you've still got to paint it, and then find somewhere to home it.
Still got to paint it.
And possibly the fact that you can stick this in a box, and the box will go to your bed or in the bottom of a cupboard quite handily, but it'll have enough stuff that you can have a whole cityscape there. It's probably one of the big draws for this, because I have a lot of terrain, but I also have a trouble with the storage space, because it's in every nook, cranny, cupboard, multiple rooms.
I can't think of many 6x4 tables that you could fit into the box the size of a large board game. Do you know what I mean? And
you're right.
I know there's weight to it, but hey, consider the weight of carrying a bunch of even plastic with a mat. It's like, very nice. I'm looking forward to seeing that in the flesh. So
I'm glad that we're seeing like a few more companies go down this route to kind of create this sort of like flat packy style terrain that also has the strength to it. Like obviously I think like 10, well, maybe not that long ago, but sort of like 5-6 years ago, we had like stuff like Terraclips, for example, which was done by the guys. They collaborated with the guys from Malifaux and that kind of thing, and that was really nice. But I think this then shows like a nice innovational step forward.
Yeah,
to make
Terraclips was a little bit flimsy.
Yeah,
so it was a little bit flimsy.
The fact that they're using this sort of corrugated cardboard packing for the center of the
bulk it
means that it has that rigidity that a lot of the other flat puff didn't have because it was made out of one form.
The athletes in Tokyo are sleeping on cardboard beds.
Yep, to stop Nookie. There we go.
Well, I don't know if it stops the Nookie, but it's all about the engineering for the Nookie. Yeah. So it's all about the engineering. There's a lot of potential for strength in that. Also, as those guys continue to explore design possibilities, there's a lot of potential for different design shapes as well.
Yeah.
So it may not necessarily all end up looking so square in the future.
One of the
you're right.
One of the things they've said here, this gridded version, some people were asking for grids, but because they need to reach a certain threshold, they won't know whether or not they have enough people to get it. So said what they've done is they've added a new pledge, which is clap for a gridded version. It's a Brew pledge. If they hit 180, I think it is, then they know that enough people to actually go ahead and do a print run with gridded version as well. Currently on 167. So if you're after gridded things or sort of more board game style layouts or for variant sort of games.
Or role-play games.
RPGs,
Role-play games. Dead Zone plays on a 3x3. This was probably 1-inch grids, means that you could then port this across to Dead Zone as well. It would be excellent. So yeah, they are listening to feedback and pushing on to do some more. So it's one of these things, you don't know if it will hit retail. A lot of it will come down to how big a print run they do. So there may be a limited amount towards. So if you are after it, probably best to back it. But there's plenty of time left. You've another 25 days on that. Goes off into the
Very
evening.
nice.
And having toyed around with it, I do think we're going to be breaking out a lot more on it as well in the near future, because it's a nice looking setup. And then
what's next, guys?
we go very, very big to the very, very, very small. So this is a very short campaign from Westfalia Miniatures. And this is Boris has bestowed the of giants and dragons upon the world. It's a True Monsters campaign. There is not many days left on, only 4 days. However, it all came down to Boris sending this giant to Cave, apropos of nothing at all. And then Cave going, what about Draken though? And so he came up with this, what they've called a cat dragon, some sort of sinuous wyvern-like thing going forward.
More based on kind of like the Germanic-y sort of take on dragons, I believe. The thing they were going for with it.
But they've also added into that stretch goals for both general stretch goals, so things will be unlock and buy, but also then giant cat-based, cat wyvern-based goals that will be added to those pledges. So you can go ahead and buy these goblins and Fomori and Huntress, all the rest. But if they hit a certain amount of backers, then they'll be included in some of the big pledges. And Boris has once more been unshackled to do his just madness in putty that I love so much.
Just such astonishingly good sculpting.
Gorgeous.
He wakes up and then he just does things. And you see like little sketches that presumably have come from his nightmare. And at that point, I'm just going, yeah, sure.
It's not just about his talent. It's not just about the talent of the actual sculpt itself. It's the vision of the man.
Creativity,
It's what he brings in terms of the art direction of the model. That is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just everything about that makes me want to go, I want that.
Yeah.
As such a centerpiece.
Because the thing that I quite liked about this when I saw the campaign was that it was playing around with the ideas of a giant and a dragon, approaching it from a different point. Because obviously, giant dragons are very sort of built into the fabric of fantasy role-play games or war games or whatever, and they're always seen as very destructive forces. But I quite like the idea that you, just from the approach of the miniature and the way that it's been presented, it encourages you to look at them in a different way. So yes, maybe that big giant has ransacked livestock from a nearby farm, but it's also got that kind of gentle giant thing going on where it's like, so maybe he's done it because he was wanting to save the fairies in the local forest and that kind of thing, and so that's why he's sort of like doing what he does. Same with the cat dragon. Maybe it's a dragon that, as we've seen with the huntress that sort of goes with it, it's maybe sort of like a more tame creature, or perhaps it's one that isn't so fiery and destructive. And that is just amazing as well, actually. Very, very memey. But
and that's solely just Boris going, look what I can do.
That'd be good. Yeah.
That'll be nice.
I just really like. I just really like the different approach to fantasy that you get from what Boris does, and you even see that in the likes of things like the goblins and things. Because like a lot of the time when you see goblins, they tend anyway to be done as almost very thin, sinewy creatures. But I love that he's given these things like a little bit more of a bulk and sort of gone for, again, blending in a little more of that fey energy into the sculpt. So it looks like they could be like little capering monsters in the woods, rather than sort of going out to slit your throat on the battlefield covered in black and stuff. Oh, because they could do both, of course.
Yeah.
But
especially Tilly Savalas Goblin.
I think you've got it nailed on the head there. I think you look at these miniatures specifically and they tell stories, every single one of them. Yeah. They tell a story for what they are. They're not just, as you said, not just a goblin, not just a giant, not just there. You can very much make a creativity and develop on the story quite easily just by looking at the miniature alone.
I mean, that guy's amazing.
The Goblin Shaman was, I think he only finished it 5 minutes after the campaign had launched, which is why it's not on the main region in the update instead. And it was just like, you know what, if you buy them both, the cat dragon and the giant, you can get him for free if you're one of the first, I want to say 100 or 300 people. So there's still plenty of them.
So what you're saying, Gerry, is that you were one of the 100 people who backed this campaign immediately, and as
I was the first. There was no money in the kitty when I arrived and went, I'm buying this.
Bravo,
and then they handed over.
Gerry.
Now, what somebody has said is, can't unsee this now. If you've been following Marvel's TV programs, they went, is that a Loki dragon? I'm going, at this stage,
Loki variant. Yeah,
there's no way those horns aren't getting golded up. But yeah, stunning stuff from Boris and Cave. And I mean, there's lovely little stretch goals
4
coming.
days left on that one, guys.
Definitely want to jump into.
Was it Boris who did the Hero Quest remake stuff that went over to Zealot? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're looking for more of his stuff, go and check out Zealot, as well as
the
Westfalia
goblins
stuff.
and orcs are very similar to those.
Very akin to those.
They'll melt my collection that I already have beautifully. So yes. What can I say?
Yeah.
What's next, guys?
Fish
so next up is one that I was particularly excited about because I have played through Assassin's Creed Valhalla and spent nearly, I want to say, 200 hours playing the game. A fair chunk of that was spent playing Orlog to try and get that achievement, for the trophy for playing the game. But the guys at Pure Arts have teamed up with Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, however you want to say it, to create a version of that dice game, Orlog, for play on the tabletop. So for those of you who have not played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Orlog is a game that doesn't actually exist within Viking history, but has been heavily inspired by it. And the whole idea of it is it's a dice game. And Vikings did play a lot of dice games back in the day. So the whole point is that it's a 1 versus 1 game. You each have a set of dice. The premise is that you're trying to reduce the opponent's life to 0, which can be seen by like little gems and stuff that represent your health and stuff. What you do on your turn is that you'll go back and forth rolling your dice, and you'll, in sort of like a little bit of a Yahtzee style thing, you'll do it three times, and that'll be the set of dice that you use to then attack your opponent. Certain dice will do damage. So you've got like axes are then stopped by helmets, arrows are stopped by shields, and then you have like a They're like a hand which allows you to steal gold from the opponent as well. And the whole point is that you're going to be doing that as much as you can and working out the best combination of dice in order to reduce your opponent to 0 life points. The really cool twist in that as well is what's called God Favors. So God Favors are the little sort of tokens that you see laid by the side of each of the players. And those God Favor tokens give you special powers and abilities that make the game essentially asymmetrical. Because you could be like, I'm going to take Thor, Heimdall, and Freya. And then the other person takes a whole bunch of other different gods. And those god powers will then do things such as dealing a massive amount of damage once you've reached a certain amount of gold. Or maybe they will mean it so that all of your arrows count as double damage when you activate that power. And so it's really a game of sort of like testing your levels and working out exactly the right time to strike really hard against your opponent and use your God Favors in order to reduce them down to 0 life points. It is definitely a game, much like Gwent from The Witcher, that has taken over a lot of people's lives when diving into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And while we have seen a lot of people making their own sort of independent versions of Orlog, it's nice that they've actually dived in and created an official version as well. Which, as you can see by the stretch goals that they've unlocked, they're going to be adding in a whole bunch of different things in here. So you've got gems instead of cardboard tokens. You've got real coins instead of normal coins. I'm sure that's going to change in the retail version as well, obviously. But yeah, looks amazing. I'm very, very tempted by it. I had a lot of fun with Orlog, and it will be fun to dive in and play it sort of in real life as well. Even though it's not a proper Viking game, it's got that really nice historical feel to it.
See, what I found about Orlog, and what I like to find about this Kickstarter specifically, I loved Orlog. I got really well with it when I played for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What I don't like about this, I think Orlog is strong enough to stand on its own. I feel like you're putting a franchise in front of it and it looks very cash grabby. It's strong enough to hold itself, I think. And I think the outside, with the fact that you've got the character on the front, the Assassin's Creed logo, everything, they're really turning up the franchise, obviously, to get more people involved in the game, which I understand. I feel like Orlog on its own, fair enough, with Ubisoft and Pure Arts backing it, I feel like all of the Assassin's Creed stuff and the logos isn't needed to push it. I feel like it's strong enough on its own and it should be treated as an individual game.
Yeah, I guess the flip side to that, as we look at flipping a coin, is that the game, I guess, wouldn't exist without Valhalla, if you know what I mean. But it is a game that obviously has, as you say, its own merits. And I would definitely play it even if it hadn't been associated with Assassin's Creed Valhalla at all. If someone had shown this off on Kickstarter, I would have been all for it because it's got that really nice asymmetrical gameplay. It's dice-based, very easy to learn, but then the tactical nature of exactly what God favors you choose, and when you approach the game is a really nice sort of addition to this. And yeah, I'm very tempted by it. I don't think I'll be ever going in for the resin horn and the big playmat because that seems like a rather ostentatious pledge. But the core game's not too bad. It's only like 49 Canadian dollars. So,
not bad. Yeah.
I would totally get the horn. I really would.
Of course you would.
Can you drink out of? I'm guessing you can't drink out of this. No?
Well, it's resin, so you can, but I would wash it. I would imagine it's more ornamental than it is.
Here's the thing, right? When it comes to Viking horns, I have an authentic horn, like a real life horn that came off an animal, right? And
cheaper than that.
I'm reluctant to drink out of it free, right? And you definitely don't want to drink anything hot out of a horn.
No.
Because it tastes like feet.
I bet.
It does. It just tastes like rot, wet, and smelly feet. It's minging. It is minging. And then, to be honest, I did it, and I can't get the thought out of my head. So I don't even particularly like drinking cold stuff out of a horn. But I will. I'd take one for the team. Yeah. I would pick one for the team. I would take the whole horn.
The whole horn.
You go the whole horn.
I'll go the whole horn.
It's very decent of you.
So yeah, if you're interested in Orlog, that campaign again only has about 4 days left on it from the time you're watching this. So if you're interested in picking that up, maybe you play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or you're interested in the idea of historically inspired games, not necessarily historical games, go and check it out. I obviously like myself a little bit of where is it? Hanaffle Taffle. So anything that's akin to that is always good with me. So, and as I say, I enjoyed it in the game, so might be picking it up.
Fantastic
and
stuff.
There we have it. 4 days left. 2 very quick ending Kickstarters there, guys. So you'll want to get stuck in. Gerry, I think we're done.
That is, we're all out of news and things to show you for another week. However, we will be back on Sunday for our Cultum's XLBS show. So if you fancy joining us for Sunday morning waffle, come on over to OnTableTop.com. You can sign up for a 30-day trial and join us as we relax and chew the fat over what we've been up to and what our community's been up to. If you want to win that copy of Hive War, don't forget to drop a comment below and be a subscriber to the channel, because we check and then I have to pick somebody else and I get very annoyed having to pick twice. But until Sunday, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.